Hello, 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 people. Here we are with part two of episode one of season two that you all asked for between me and Mr. Jeffrey Ladrae. This is the C note where we keep it 100 or 100, as they say here in Baltimore, and the real recognize real. And we also see you fake asses out there too, waiting for my very special guest, Mr. Jeffrey Ladrae. See him there right now. It should be popping up on the screen any second. So we're gonna get this thing rolling, and we got a lot for you tonight. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
All right, how are you? What's that you got on there? They got on that
So-
flag.
Sorry.
I
Well, I'm gonna explain that.
ain't
You see
gonna
the
start with you.
colors.
Well, yeah, why you
You
got
see
on that American flag? Huh?
one signifies blood shed, black. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you get
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
okay. What? Oh, you want
I
me to
don't.
explain?
Yeah, you went out for a second.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did. It won't happen again.
Okay.
All right. It shouldn't be going. If it is, it's not me. But you did say you in
Okay.
Baltimore. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going out in and out a little bit, but
Okay. It says I have five bars, so I don't know.
yeah, I'm on. Okay.
I hear you fine.
All right. You hear me fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, go ahead. You can
Oh no.
explain.
It's not much to explain. It's just, red, white, and blue is the color that they teach us growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, but red, white, blue also signifies the colors of the police.
Okay. Okay.
They tell us to stand for the flag and be patriotic, but it's funny that those three colors also mean that you're about to die. Because when they either
Wow.
going to die, you're going to be harassed or you're going to be um, asked what you're doing because that is where
Right.
police came from and derived from. So this being the black side of the flag that's half and the other side is red signifies that I will not fully give my loyalty to the flag. I will only deal with what is sacred to us, but the red signifies the
Mm.
bloodshed of our people.
Ah, what's been
So
going on for quite some time and it's still going on now. Well, everybody, I don't know if you want to tag some people before we get started, but everybody pretty much knows who you are. You're a brilliant brother. Mr. Jeffrey Ladrae,
thank you.
who was the host of two of your own podcasts, Code Red and Catfish, and you believe in, the political sciences and so forth, and using um, politics and whatever else to benefit our people, right?
Let's go with
And
that.
that's close enough. Yeah. So we have a lot that we're going to talk about tonight, and we may go back to a couple of things that we mentioned on the first episode that we did together. Um, so some things bear repeating. So
Right.
anyway, so where we're gonna go first? What you say?
If we're repeating it, I was hoping I could do one episode without the dogs barking. I'm sorry. If we're repeating it, that just means there's something that's important that needs to be added on to. It's not repeating it. It's
Right.
focused.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Well, you're right. Some people see it as just repeating. So what you said is right. But yeah, I get
it's
it. I get it.
the
So
first time. So, anyways,
well, um,
so let them
where
know
I
we.
want to go. Say that again.
I said, let them know what we're talking about.
Okay, well, tonight we're going to be talking about everything that concerns the Black community. We're going to be talking about the whole thing with LGBTQ, why some Black folks don't identify with some same gender loving Black folks don't identify as LGBTQ or with the gay word or with the queer word and the history of that, and also don't rock with the rainbow flag and so forth. We're going to be talking about this whole thing with critical race theory. We're going to be talking about something that Mr. Ledre brought up as far as the way they portray certain of our Black female icons
Man,
with the lesbianism and all that. Um,
yeah,
and those are
like
basically things we're going to be talking about. Education. What you say?
I said they always got to tear their legacy down. I wanted to hone in on that when we get there. So, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, first, um, I want to start off by talking about Mr. Perry for a second. One of your
Who?
favorite people,
Tyler Perry?
Mr. Tyler Perry. I'm being
Oh,
facetious right now when I say
oh,
one of your
oh,
favorite people. I'm being
oh.
facetious when I
I
say
know.
that.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Uh-huh.
okay, well, um, I did watch that series finale.
Of Have and Have Nots.
Yeah,
Oh gosh. Uh huh. Where
just
he
to
where
see,
horribly written, and they killed everybody off with bombs and
uh,
guns,
yeah. I was
and then
going to just say that.
what?
I watched that, and as a writer myself, as a screenwriter myself, I just saw that as lazy
Lazy.
writing.
Lazy.
Lazy writing. He was
La-
lazy with it. Hmm.
uh, I agree. I was. Go ahead. Now I'm gonna give my critique. I agree
Well,
with you. I
it
actually
was
lazy.
lazy writing. He just had no imagination. He just killed everybody off that he could possibly kill off. The way that he showed that white guy strangling that black woman and holding her down in the bathrobe, holding her down in the bathtub, drowning her in the bathtub. Um,
That,
and the whole thing with what'd you say?
how in the hell did she drown from him with one arm holding her down like this? It's just horrible. And one of the brand new
Right,
JD.
right.
It was horrible, and it goes with his normal horrible writing. No, it's sad, and not
Hmm.
just stuff, but all of Tyler Have and Have Nots Twitter. We're talking about Have and Have Nots for those who are commenting. Half
Hmm.
of Have and Have Nots Twitter was literally knowing what was going to happen.
Oh, I
That
did.
Jeffrey
Go
got
ahead.
the gay Justin's brother brought him in.
Oh,
We all knew
oh
it was.
yeah.
It's
I
so
knew
ridiculous.
it was me too. I knew there was a bomb in that fucking box. As soon as I saw that shit, I said, as soon as he opens it, it's going to explode. I already knew that. And while he right, first of all, I never liked the way that he wrote the character Jeffrey. Jeffrey was always kind of
It's
stupid and weak, and the way he always had Jeffrey running after white men. He started off the series with having Jeffrey crying and whining over a quote unquote heterosexual white guy who was a
Wyatt.
drug addict, Wyatt, who didn't want him. And every time he gives him a love interest, he always gives him a Caucasian love interest. And
Oh,
that
or,
whole
or
that
Filipino.
whole huh?
Or remember, he had the Filipino one too. But that guy was more into Jeffrey, right?
Yeah, that was the only person of color that he gave to the character Jeffrey.
Let's not
And
even go.
that particular character, well, that particular character, the character's name was Landon.
Yeah,
Landon actually really liked Jeffrey.
yeah.
Landon was kind of in love with Jeffrey, but Jeffrey threw Landon away. So he threw the only man of color that he was
Man,
involved with away. But
color
he,
man, man of
yeah,
color. Right.
right. But he chases the white guys. And then that whole thing with Justin, Justin was a police officer who was basically very abusive towards Jeffrey when he stopped Jeffrey on the road in his car. Remember that? Um, when he first approached Jeffrey as a police officer, he was abusive towards Jeffrey. And then later on, Tyler Perry had him fall in bed with the same white man who was abusive towards him. That kind of sick shit.
Well,
Which now, huh?
well, I was gonna say this. Know what I think it is before you continue. I
Hmm.
always I think that the characters in Tyler Perry in Have and Have Nots is Tyler Perry's inner ego, or is his id. Think about it. Veronica,
Well,
I really think that
hmm.
he kick off of the gay jokes that Veronica made.
Yeah, yeah, he
Jeffrey
does. Yeah,
went to the gay
yeah.
club years ago when she was voguing, saying, "Oh, work it, girl. You girls not have fun." I
Hmm.
really think that that's. We all know Tyler Perry's gay. We all know that, but I really think that I that's his inner ego trying to. You know what I'm trying to say. It's like he's
Hmm.
getting off on trying to go out his way to say that that is not who he is, but
Hmm.
it's a self hate. And if you look at the way he writes the film, same thing. Look at other films he writes, where he has LGBT or sorry,
Well,
same.
well, not even with just the LGBTQ stuff, but also with the black stuff as well.
Oh
The way that he has a white character like Jim Cryer talk
man,
down, the way
to the
he talks down to Hannah, the
maid.
the names that he calls Hannah and
Mm-hmm.
being very derogatory towards black people. He has
Mm-hmm.
his white characters. He has his white characters continuously be derogatory towards black people.
Right.
Um, Same way that he has Veronica be derogatory towards same gender loving people.
So,
You
what does
know,
it take, Tyler? Like I said, I think he gets a kick off the jokes. Think about
yeah,
it.
he does.
Just like I always say,
Hmm.
the movies. I won't go into this in details. I've said it a million times on my other podcast, but look
Yeah.
at what happens in Diary of a Mad Black Woman. He has the dark skinned man who's rich. He's always abusive, cheater, going
Right.
for broke, skinny prostitute, but he's with the strong black woman who he beats, kicks her out the house,
Hmm.
then goes and gets a broke, light skinned man. Think about it.
Yeah.
First, he was a Shamar Moore who worked in a steel factory, and the second one, he was with he was with the guy who was beating her, and then her sister
Hmm.
had it was a single mother, and she went and met a bus driver who was light skinned, while
Yeah.
her a rich dark skinned man. It's the same
I
narrative.
mean, yeah, and with the movie that Taraji P. Henson was in, I believe I can do battle by myself.
Oh yeah,
Um, well,
oh
she was with the brown skinned brother. He
yeah,
wasn't particularly dark, but he was a brown skinned brother. But he was the bad one. He was the abusive one who tried to rape the teenage girl.
right.
But the good guy was the Hispanic dude or the Latino dude, Adam Rodriguez, I believe his
Who
name is.
who
Um,
went to the church?
yeah,
Who was fixing the church? And
right.
you're and look at even in Precious, same thing.
Hmm.
Look.
Well, that was
If
Lee Daniels. He's another
every
one.
dark skinned person, well, look, every dark skinned person hurt Precious. Her mother,
Hmm.
everybody who was dark skinned hurt her, but everyone who was
Right.
light, the lesbian, the lesbian
Hmm.
teacher and her partner, the light skinned doctor, the light skinned girl in her
Right.
class to get her food.
Hmm.
So it's a misnomer that it's just it's really insulting. But
Yeah.
this goes to what you were saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't want to stay too much longer on him, but I
Please, I don't.
watched that and
I can't
what's
stand it.
that?
I don't want to give that man too
Well,
much. Not like
well,
him.
I just saw the lazy writing that he had. I mean, there was no imagination. I mean, like the whole thing, like what happened with Benny and him finding out that he has a son. Um, and one scene at the end of that one scene, he's holding the baby and he's talking about, "I'm daddy, I'm your daddy," like he's bonding with the baby. And then all of a sudden, he's just that stupid to run over to that house when that girl calls him. Um, and then he gets shot to death by a
That was
couple of guys.
and we
That was
all. Okay. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I think your thing went out for a second. But yeah, we
Yeah, it
all
did.
knew. I don't want to beat down on it, but you as a film writer, by the way, tell them
Hmm.
about your film and when it's being released.
Hmm. Well, there's no release date yet because we just finished shooting like 2 weeks ago. So it has to be edited and everything, and music has to be added and all that. So it's going to be a little bit, a couple of months or so, maybe 2 or 3 months before it's ready to be put out there.
Thank
But Um, this is where I want to segue into the whole LGBTQ thing and why some of us don't, essentially loving Black people, do not identify with LGBTQ and the rainbow flag and the terminology of gay and queer and words like that. Now, if anybody has that DVD to the film Moonlight,
Oh
if you can
gosh,
pull it up right quick, look at that picture and how they have that pink triangle in the middle of that beautiful dark-skinned black man's face. And
teach them right now. Come on,
who who knows what that pink triangle is and where did it come from? I know where it
give
came
them
from, but
see
a lot of people do.
give, give them a couple
Well,
seconds.
that okay. Um,
Well, even if not, who
is
cares? We'll
anybody
say it.
is there anybody that knows?
See,
Well, that pink triangle, it was originally a Nazi symbol, a symbol that the Nazis used during the Holocaust to identify those men, those European Jewish men that they believed to be homosexual. So they put this upside down pink triangle on their shirts to identify them as homosexual, um, and so forth.
mm-hmm.
And so at some point, I don't know the exact year, white homosexuals decided that they were going to reclaim that symbol for themselves and turn it into a positive thing and so forth. You see, sort of like that same crazy mentality where some black people say they're going to take the word nigger and make it into a positive thing, which I don't get that either.
I
But and I'm not going to knock people who use that. I just don't use it. But it is what it is. But that is a Nazi symbol in the middle of that black man's face. And the reason why myself I don't use the terminology of gay and so forth because I know the history of where it came from. When they first came up with the whole gay movement, they didn't want black people at the table with them. They did things to keep black people out of their white homosexual establishments,
mm,
so forth. Like they would they would ask black people for like three different forms of ID, picture ID. Now, who carries around three different picture ID? No one.
I don't.
So, so what you said?
I said I sure don't to this day.
Well, so they would do things like that just to keep black folks out. And also, I want to talk about James Baldwin right quick. He's a very well-known playwright and author. And a lot of people today refer to him as a gay icon. Now,
Oh,
James Baldwin himself, he did not embrace the term of gay. There's an interview that you can go look up that he did with a guy by the name of Richard Goldstein. And in this interview with Richard Goldstein, he keeps continuously asking him about the terminology of gay and does he identify as that? And basically, Mr. Baldwin said he didn't see that as anything that black people needed for them to identify themselves as. He saw that as something that white folks needed, that white homosexuals needed, basically,
mm,
in a nutshell, that was white homosexuals and lesbians' way of
mm,
carving out their own niche of
mm.
systemic supremacy. And as you know, there's a lot of racism in the white LGBTQ community, in the white gay
I will.
community, and
Let
so
me talk
forth.
about
Um,
Red, especially if people in DC with Delhi's in number 9. I won't beat that dead horse right now. We all get it. That horse is not just
oh
beat;
yeah,
it's ran over. It's eaten by the flies. It's not
right.
even eaten no more.
So gay is steeped in systemic racism. When they came up with that whole thing, they didn't want black people around, and the whole thing with the rainbow flag, the whole rainbow symbol thing, it actually started off being used as a symbol for black pride and black empowerment by the Jesse Jackson, that old Jesse Jackson movement, the push movement, and the Black Panthers used to use the rainbow symbol for black empowerment. And
Interesting.
then one day, as usual, what Caucasians normally do is appropriate everything. This white homosexual by the name of Gilbert Baker, when they wanted to come up with a quote unquote gay flag, he decided that he was just going to take that rainbow symbol and slap, their moniker on it.
Interesting.
And so basically, what started off as a symbol as black pride and black empowerment has now become this gay symbol. But make no mistake, is mainly for white homosexuals. It's not
Yep.
for black homosexuals. Just like when President Biden, he signed it to protect transgender people. That was mainly for Caucasian transgenders.
Of
He didn't really
course.
care about black
No, he
transgender
does.
people. So
We're
right
going to
and
polls and vote for him. Right.
right, and so
Crap for our vote.
I personally do not identify. I will not identify as gay or LGBTQ because every time I turn around, they keep adding another letter to that that whole thing, and I don't want to be identified with everything that they tag on to that. I mean,
Right.
I've been also hearing some things about um, some sick people out here that want to try to legalize pedophilia. I don't know if you've heard that or not.
You know that's not us.
It's not us. It's not
You,
us exactly. And they want to actually give it a name and call it pedosexual, a
joking.
pedophile.
I
They,
was a group a while ago. I think it was like National Association for National Man Boy Love Association, something like that. And the
yeah.
show Mark made fun of it, but it was a real group that's still around
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
fight. Well, before you go on to, I want to touch on this point. a lot of my friends, you know, I don't, I support all groups of people, what have you, and I do
Hmm.
a lot of stuff
Right.
with that community, even though they
Yeah.
don't fully my views and stuff on certain things. But I always tell Black people, straight, gay, whatever, please be mindful that when you are going to these prides and you see these parades, I always tell
Hmm.
them every time you will see Black people on those floats is that's because they probably got a phone call 2 days before saying, "Hey, why don't you come participate?" But if you look, a lot of
Hmm.
times you bars. Look at Nelly's in DC. Look what happens. It's like every month they did something to Black folks. And the
Right.
Black still go there to get the little $4 drinks. And while they're still being treated like crap, you go to a place like Number Nine. You have a dude wearing a mask. You remember that the guy with the Rastus mask, and he pretended he didn't know what
Yeah.
it meant even when 8 people told him to take it off and he said, "Oh, well, I don't care, I'm not taking it off, it's not that
Hmm.
serious." And then what makes me angriest is not even what they do, is when these things come out, you see there's the same COONS's, I won't say the word out loud because you know Instagram, Facebook's going to delete the video if we say it, who sit here
Right.
defend them. And I made a comment that pissed everybody off who was in this group of people. But when they were sitting there going, "Oh, well, they apologize, and I don't think it's a big deal. I know them, and they're not racist because they like me." I said, "You
Mm.
all like white dick. You like white cock." And that's what
Ew.
I know. I hate, but that's exactly
Don't make me throw up. All
they know.
right.
Men will not respect them or deal with them. So they go to their oppressors, they go to those who are going to fetishize them and treat them for
Hmm.
the trash that they are. And they love that because they love the attention. They want to feel belong. Also, on top of that, when they were in school or whatever, they probably were Urkels. They probably were unpopular. They probably couldn't dress,
Hmm.
and they got bullied. So internally,
Right.
because I like that, I didn't date Black women for a long time
Hmm.
because I called nerdy and stuff. But I learned that you just people grow up in what they grow up in, but you don't hate everyone because of their misinformation. You go with people who are
Right.
like you and do understand. But that's what it
Hmm.
is. And we are so quick to always make excuses for them. So go ahead, though. That's why
Well, they
pride is stupid. And I always say that. Stop going down there and supporting. That's
right.
why they created a Black pride because
Right.
they didn't. Same thing with the Divine Nine. You know, but we get it. But go ahead. That's another discussion for another
Well,
day.
well, they try to infiltrate whatever we do anyway. But I, you know, it's like this. With this whole gay pride thing, I already talked about what James Baldwin said about it and how it all got started, how they didn't want Black people around when they first started the whole gay thing. Um, and even with the flag, how the rainbow flag, the symbol of the rainbow was first claimed by Black folks
Mm,
as a symbol of Black pride and Black empowerment. And again, as always, Caucasians appropriate everything, and they
don't
this
they?
this white guy Gilbert Baker, when it was asked to come up with a flag for white homosexuality, even though he claimed that it was for everybody, um, he didn't care that Jesse Jackson and the Black Panthers had already claimed it for Black empowerment and Black pride. He decided he was just going to take it, and so they took that whole thing over. And so that's why I do not rock with that rainbow flag. I don't rock with the terminology of gay. I never could stand the term queer. I hate when Black people call themselves Black queer people.
What
Um,
does it?
and
You know that word doesn't even mean gay or any type of homosexuality.
it was, first of all, it started off as a British insult. It was an insult, and they
Wow.
want to say that it means to be strange or different or whatever. But I don't rock with all of that. And you brought up my film earlier, and I brought up Moonlight and the fact that they have that pink triangle slapped in the middle of that Black man's face on the cover of the DVD for Moonlight. I don't want that happening to what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm an actor, and I sing and I write and stuff like that. And this is my first film project that will involve some same gender loving characters. Um, and I had to correct a couple of people because they wanted to start calling it an LGBTQ film. It is not an LGBTQ film. It is not a gay film. It's a Black film that celebrates Black love, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be between two men and whether it be between two Black men or be between a black man and a black woman. This
right.
film celebrates black love. This film celebrates black brotherhood
Which is
because
something
the
to see, especially Empire.
the
Remember, Jussie
yeah.
Smollett didn't black man until the end
Mhm.
of, until you know. But go ahead.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember seeing a story that came out that Jussie Smollett said to Lee Daniels because allegedly Lee Daniels wanted to give him another Caucasian love interest. And basically, the story was that Jussie said, fuck no, I don't want another white love interest. My love
Mm.
interest has to be black. And then the next thing you know, all this stuff came out with this whole story of what happened in Chicago.
Yeah, I
Um, I don't know if those two things correlate together or not as to him telling Lee Daniels, "Fuck no, I don't want a white love interest anymore." And then all this thing, all this whole thing happened. And I don't know if those two things have anything, huh?
they Cosby'd him. Gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't like Lee Daniels either because he said some stuff out of his mouth I didn't really particularly care for. Yeah, he did a great job with the Billie Holiday movie and everything, but I don't like him because he made a statement one time that black actors should be grateful for whatever roles we're offered. No matter how degrading they are, we should just be grateful for whatever they offer to us. I didn't like that attitude coming from him, but I wouldn't expect anything more from him. The fact that he lays up with a Caucasian man all the
Right.
time.
Wait, Lee
So
Dan,
um, Lee Daniels,
he's gay?
you didn't know that?
I don't be.
Well,
I mean,
he calls himself gay, but yeah, he was in a relationship with a white man. He was.
not surprise me. Go ahead. Makes sense now. Like, like the
Yeah,
but
I mean,
in the
you
Butler.
know that
You've seen the
what
Butler,
what what yeah,
and
yeah, with
why
Oprah.
Oprah having an affair? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? I get they were trying to say that
Hmm.
it work a lot, but same thing. She's with Terrence Howard having an affair. What? Why
Yeah.
is that? It always has to. And that when you're done with your point, let's segue into the stereotypes in the films when
Okay.
we're actually empower us. There's always something that they have to do to take away from our steam. But
Yes,
why?
definitely.
I get showing his son suffering in the South. That was real. But why was there a scene
Hmm.
about Oprah having infidelity with behind Cecil's back? You know, I get they were
Well,
busy, but but go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, well, that's what the type of stuff that Lee Daniels likes to focus on,
Or
the same type of stuff
yeah,
that Tyler Perry focuses on. But with my film, which is called We Brothers, and I spelled it that way intentionally, and
I
you
love
heard
the
me correctly, it's with a V, Brothers. It's
no.
about six black men that share a close brotherhood and friendship, despite the fact that they come from different backgrounds. Whereas three of them are same gender loving, two of
Mm,
them are heterosexual, and
mm-mm.
one is bisexual.
Okay,
But they have a close brotherhood nonetheless.
I like that.
And yeah, thank you. They don't let the fact that they have different sexual orientations or whatever interfere with their brotherhood. That's not even a factor in their brotherhood.
I like
Um, and
did that. Well, I'm sorry. I just like that you did that because they're
mhm.
so sad that like even in my own friendships, people assume things just from um, backgrounds of my friends, or whatever,
Mhm.
because I believe and love people for who they are. And because of the networks and
Mhm.
who I do business with or what have you, people make assumptions. That's fine. But it's let people hang out and be around each other for who they are. So I'm glad you did
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, I have friends, black male friends who are from different backgrounds.
Right.
I have heterosexual black male friends who don't trip about my sexual orientation. As a matter of fact, there's a brother who was a playwright and a graphic designer. He's a heterosexual brother. Now, when I first met him back in 2013, he never said anything out of the way to me, but I could um, feel that he had an issue because he may have suspected that I was
Right.
thinking of loving. But
Mm.
I never went off on him or anything. I never went off on him and like, oh, why are you looking to be like that and all this and that. I just continued with my life. He was on my Facebook as one of my Facebook friends. He basically was sitting back and observing me, unbeknownst to me. He was observing me and see how I carried myself. And he saw that I was like really about uplifting black people, uplifting all black people,
Mm.
not just black heterosexuals, but black homosexuals and black heterosexuals. And one day he came to me and talked to me. And we
Mm,
had a serious conversation and everything. And he talked about, how he was raised, like most of us were raised in church to believe that homosexuals are wrong and bad and all this and that. So that's how he was raised. But
right.
he said he no longer believes that anymore. Um, he no longer believes that anymore from watching folks like me and also watching other black men that because he has a best friend that he found out was same gender loving.
Mm,
Um, and at first he was like he was bothered, but then he realized that his friend is still his friend. And
right.
this same brother that I'm talking about right now, he's trying to find a black woman. He's all about black love, and he's trying to find a black woman to be with. A lot of times, some black women don't give him any play. There's nothing wrong with the way he looks, but he's not that quote unquote stereotypical hard brother, if you know what
Right.
I mean.
I went through.
He's had a right.
I went through the same thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he's heterosexual, but he's not a quote unquote roughneck,
Right.
right? So a lot of times he don't get that play, but he's trying to find a black woman that he can get married to and raise a strong black family with. And one time, like, a couple of months ago, he called me up and told me he was really excited. He went on his date with his sister. And here this is a black heterosexual brother calling
Mm,
me a same-gender loving brother to tell me about how excited he is about this first date he had with his sister. And he's looking forward to going out with her again. And
wow.
he was like telling me, that whenever he gets married, he wants me to be his best man,
Mm,
right?
that says a lot.
So yeah, so when I see some of our fellow same gender loving black men out here bashing or trying to lump together all black heterosexual brothers, I don't join into that. And maybe they feel like I should, but that's not my story. I All black heterosexual men are not bad. All black heterosexual men are not
There's,
homophobic. And even the ones who are homophobic, it's not because they're just out and out evil. You have to realize that most of us were raised because of church
hmm
uh, to
Or if
believe that it was wrong.
friends with the gay
Hmm?
kid, if you were friends with the gay kid, you were considered gay. That's why whenever
Right.
there's a black teenagers or black young men getting shot, when you hear like wasn't Tamir Rice or one of them gay, right? Regardless,
I
whenever
don't I don't know about Tamir Rice being a homosexual,
I'm
and I don't
sorry,
want to call him gay. I don't like that term gay. It's same
he,
gender loving. And another reason why same gender loving is more culturally affirming because it came from a black man by the name of Dr. Cleo Monago. It also has the word love in it, which is another reason why I like it.
okay,
Um,
well,
Gay is not culturally affirming for us. So
right to
that boy was only what 11 or 12 years old. I didn't hear anything about his
well,
sexual orientation. All I know is that he was playing in the playground with a toy gun, and this
I
white police officer shot him to death.
I got
Huh?
regardless. Regardless, the point I'm making is whenever there is a homosexual black man that is
Mm-hmm.
goes the same thing as a heterosexual black man, a lot of black men are silent about it
Mm-hmm.
because I guess they
Mm-hmm.
don't. I don't care who it is, who you sleep with. I'm saying something, but
Right.
let's this. Then you see our white counterparts who are gay, the gay white men who claim to be so open-minded and diverse. You notice when Black Lives Matter incidents happen, they're quiet, but when
Mm-hmm.
there's Trans Lives Matter incident, not Black Trans Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
they are
Right.
loud and ignorant about it. They will block you and go to war over the transgender community. No violence is okay. Let me
Mm-hmm.
be, or they try to cancel me for
Right.
the. You're not going to cancel
Mm-hmm.
me, but before they try to, let me be clear: no violence against any group is okay. However, I do notice that amongst the gay white men, that there is 10 times more energy put against to advocate for transgender folks. But I'm like, all suffering is wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
we're not getting into who suffered more between the two groups, but I will say that all suffering's wrong. So keep the same energy. That's just me.
Right. Right. I'm often misjudged because I boldly say that I'm black first. Um, that
That
doesn't mean that I'm sitting around that, huh?
doesn't mean you hate white people or
Yeah, I'm not sitting.
you're not
Right.
self-hating.
I've been accused by some black folks of hating white folks. And when I say that I don't, they'll come up and be like, well, yeah, you do. But I'm like, how the fuck you going to tell me what's
Mm.
inside of my brain? You're not in my head to tell me that I hate white folks. First of all, I've said on many occasions that it takes energy to hate. Okay, it takes energy to hate, and
Rent.
I'm really not putting my energy into them like that. All of my energy is taken by loving black people, trying to
Right.
heal black people, trying to use my artistry to bring us together. I'm not
Right.
focused on doing anything to white people. Um, they don't take up my thoughts like that. My thoughts and my energy are focused on us as a people and bringing us together, and honoring our ancestors. I'm not sitting around hating anybody. I'm
Mhm.
just focused on us and putting us first because every other race puts their people first,
Sure do.
right?
Sure do.
And no one questions that. No one questions the fact that
You
they
know where?
put their people first, and it's celebrated, and it's even celebrated by black people. Black people will look at other races and say, "Well, why can't we do that? Why
Okay.
can't black people treat each other like that?" But as soon as there are black people that do that,
Uh huh.
we get
Cartes.
attacked for it.
Cartes, ready for this one? You already know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
That stupid stop
Mm-hmm.
Asian. I was getting so angry. I was on Twitter saying that that was complete bullshit because Congress
Mm-hmm.
passed that in 24 hours based off of three hate crimes.
Right.
Three, mind you, for 428 years, what have we been going through to this day? And we can't get a fucking lynching bill passed or
Yeah.
police. Three hate crimes by a race of people who, let's
Mm-hmm.
arguably, have been just as racist to us as white folks.
They
Three,
sure have.
and they get
Mm-hmm.
a bipartisan, 100% unanimous Senate and Congress bill passed. And then when black people,
And don't be so sure that some of those attacks weren't staged.
hey, let's go. I'm not even gonna go there today. But what made me angry was
Uh,
when I
mhm,
went to Twitter and said it was bullshit. People were like, "Well,
mhm,
racism against one group is against all of them," and I said, "Shut the fuck up. It's not."
mhm.
And plus, let's be real, Asians are not even considered, almost not even considered minority. You know, even in slavery days and Jim Crow, they were considered part of the white community.
Mhm.
They,
Yeah.
you go, they will put stores in the hood and follow us around. One time I was buying liquor, for my birthday. This was like 4 years ago,
Mhm.
and I bought $327.16 of liquor. I remember because I will never forget. This was the worst time I was ever stereotyped in my entire life. And he literally pointed at the total cost. I was in Maryland on St. Barnabas Road, and
Okay.
it was that liquor store off of St. Barnabas Road when you take exit 4A and you go on the
Mhm.
second left, right. Um, and he pointed at it, and I said, "Okay, what's your point?" He said, "That's a lot of money." I said, "Not for me. I make that in a day."
Wow.
So at the time, I
Mhm.
made that. And then to get this, when I took out my card to pay, he said, "I need a copy of your ID." I'm thinking he's carding me. He went and took a copy of my ID and made a photocopy of it. I guess he thought I was going to charge it back. And it took everything in me not to
Wow.
have. I have ignorant cousins. It took everything in me not
Uh-huh.
to come back and light this bitch on fire. It took
Mhm.
every in me, but it's just ridiculous what So that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, there's some stores around here that Asians own, and there's this one particular store that I've been in 1,000 times. Always go in there and purchase something. But no matter how many times I've gone in there, no matter how much money I spend in there, they always follow me around the store. I stopped going there because I don't appreciate being treated like I'm a criminal. When I've been in your fucking establishment so many times and I've always bought stuff, but you're still going to look at me like you don't know who I am. What you trying to say? We all look alike, which we don't. You all look more alike than we do. Look alike. But anyway,
I go.
what you say?
I said I agree with you on that one.
But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I stopped going to that establishment. And piggybacking back right quick on my film project right quick. With the whole brotherhood thing. Um, what I was saying was I just wanted to be clear that I don't want anybody uh slapping that pink triangle or the rainbow flag or any of those symbols on my film. It does show Black brotherhood. It shows love between two black men. It also shows love between black men and black women.
Right.
Um, and so it's a black story. It's a black love story. It's a celebration of black love and black brotherhood.
Right.
Um, And so I don't want them to slap any of those European Nazi symbols or um, symbols of systemic white supremacy onto my project. And I also wanted to talk. I think I mentioned the what's the documentary on the last episode we did. It was a documentary called Flag Wars,
Mm,
FLAG. Did I mention
mm,
that before?
you did.
Well,
But,
you said I did.
yeah, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You didn't go much
Well,
into detail. You
for,
kind of grazed over it. But go ahead.
for those who don't know what Flag Wars are, you can look it up and it'll pop up. Flag Wars is a documentary which I watched with a Black discussion group, which is actually getting back together for the first time tomorrow since 2 years
Good.
ago when the pandemic happened.
Good.
Because they're watching a film together tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Um, and so we watched this documentary together back in like 2016 or 2017, and it's called Flag Wars. And it shows in there, it shows these white homosexuals, these white lesbians,
Mm,
how they came together into these black neighborhoods that's already occupied. And you know how they do. I want that neighborhood. Doesn't matter that somebody already lives there and they already own their home, but they want that, and they don't care what they got to do to get you out. And so basically, this film shows how the white LGBTQ community, the white gay community, are also as much a bigger part as the whole gentrification thing as their white heterosexual counterparts.
right.
Um, they had played a big part in getting black people kicked out of their homes because they wanted to take over the neighborhood and all that other kind of stuff. So that's another reason why I don't attach myself to all of that stuff because it is steeped in systemic racism.
Mm,
And I'm more about trying to be aligned with stuff that's culturally affirming to all of us as far as our people are concerned, as far as the African diaspora and so forth, which I posted something about the African diaspora yesterday. And the brother came through and he was like, well, he want more of our people to learn about it because some of our people don't even know what the African diaspora is, um, which is sad. Did you laugh just now?
yeah, I'm laughing because, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's sad that they don't know what the African diaspora is. And I talked about that yesterday, and I said that the post that I made, it said that you know, why is it that whenever any other race wants to only date people of their race, it's seen as racial pride or honoring their ancestors, but when black people do it, um, we get called racist or whatever when we only want to date
Black people can't
someone
be
from our
racist.
own race.
Black
Right.
people
Well,
can't.
we can't be, but
We can't even be
but
racist.
right, but they will call us that, and then you have self-hating black people that will join in with them and call other black people racist too. Um,
I
but I
always
brought
laugh
up,
when I hear that. Hmm.
yeah, so I brought up the fact that I have no desire to date someone of another race, and I don't have to step out of of our people to find what I want because the African diaspora is well versed, widespread, like African Americans, continental Africans, which is Africans born in Africa, and the Caribbean, African from the Caribbean and UK Africans and Afro Cubans and Afro Latinos and so forth, and Dominicans. They are all a part of us. It's just that that slave ship was dropped off in different parts different places.
Europe, South,
But what's that?
Europe, South America, many different parts.
Yeah, yeah. So when I talk about the African diaspora, that's people that are of us, all descendants from Africa, who were taken from Africa and taken to these different places. Um, and so we're all connected in that way, and that's what I mean by the African diaspora, not having to step outside of that. Um, but we spent enough time on the LGBTQ thing and we talked about the entertainment thing, but we want to segue into what you wanted to say about why they continuously focused on the lesbianism
Yes, and
and
then we're going
like,
to teaching because
mhm,
that's the other thing.
yeah,
So the last thing I was going to say about that too, when it comes to the black films, whether it's and what was it, Bessie Smith,
yeah. And you
right?
named, there was
It was
another film that you named.
it was Bessie Smith. It was several movies. We don't. I mean, it happens so
Hmm.
often. but
Hmm.
they always have to bring up the fact that the women were bisexual or lesbian.
Hmm.
It happened to Amelia, it happened to Bessie
Oh
Smith,
yeah, you mentioned Mahalia, but they also did it with Billie Holiday as well.
Billie Holiday
Yeah.
too. Okay, one, why do we I think I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show inclusion and show
Hmm.
that yeah, they still had LGBT or whatever, homosexuality was around back then. I get what
Hmm.
they're trying to do, but it's like let that be a fun fact at the end or behind the scenes. Why do you have to hone in? They literally honed in on infidelity with us with the
Right.
same person, something. I mean, hell,
Hmm.
even they teach now that Lincoln was gay, just to hurt his legacy because he freed. Well, he didn't technically free the slaves. He
He
pushed
didn't
slaves.
really want to.
He didn't want to, but because
Right.
it's taught. And speaking of
Hmm.
being taught, and I already told you about this. It is sad in the schools what they don't want to teach. They don't want to teach critical race theory. I tagged you in that post this morning where you saw those white folks were going off on me for saying what's wrong teaching racism in school. And And did you see that? And I intentionally said it just like that because I knew. And know what I did? I put it there, and I said, when I wake up, I'm gonna
What?
have comments. And you laid into their ass. But the thing is, they know. But I literally had an
They
adjunct
didn't
position.
say anything back to me that I know of. I didn't see any notifications that they
You
commented
know,
on my
you know me. I
statement.
put. I know it's gonna cause some shit. I type it and I hit turn notifications off because I already turn
Well,
notifications.
first of all, let me say this right quick. Let me say this right quick. If they dare to say something to me, I'm at a place where I don't go back and forth with them anymore. I used to go back and forth with Caucasians. I don't do it anymore. They're not even worth my time. I don't waste my breath going back and forth with them. So they could have said something. All I would have did was block them. That's all I was going to do.
I don't
That's all
block
I
them.
do now.
Block people, and
Huh?
I don't give people the energy to block them. I just mute.
Well, when I click on their profile and see that they're like this crazy looking Caucasian, um, holding guns and stuff, I block them. But anyway, that's just
Well,
me.
I was going to say when I was working, and I had an adjunct position at Nova, and for 7 years, I always taught like a Black history class, and I
Hmm.
usually did either Reconstruction to present or
Right.
early Reconstruction. It depended. I would do like fall one, spring the other. Well, I
Right.
didn't teach the way high school teach because who do they teach about high school? Harry Tubman, Frederick Douglass,
Hmm.
Martin Luther King. That's
Right.
it. That's it. They may touch on George Washington Carver or some of the inventors during Black History
Hmm.
Month, but I will never
Hmm.
forget high school. I did a project on Nat Turner, and the teacher literally called my parents and said, Jeff taught about a very violent man. And my parents are the ones who told me to do him. But
Right.
anyway, so I actually taught the class the right way. I taught them about how
Hmm.
Columbus was attributed to the slave trade. Hello, how do you think we ended up in Brazil and Jamaica,
Right.
Haiti,
Hmm.
Cuba? Come on now, those were his first voyages. How do you? I talked about Maleficante and Nat Turner
Right.
and the Stono Rebellion and remember Denmark Vesey? They don't teach you
Hmm.
about his was more lit than Nat Turner. So that's what I'm saying. So
Well, they
um,
also don't want to teach about Tucson Louverture either, uh,
but when I
because.
apparently some students were not happy about it and they
Hmm.
felt offended. So, of course, the dean told me once, stick to the curriculum. I said, I am. You just don't like which part of the curriculum I'm focusing on.
Right.
So, it is what it is. So, they didn't fire me. They just said, oh, we're not offering this class. So, what they did was they changed the name of it. They
Hmm.
changed the name of the class to make it a more focus on early African history. And then they said,
Huh.
"Oh, Jeff, you have the qualifications to teach this. Your background is political science, Spanish, and history to teach this." I said, "Interesting. Okay, I get what y'all did." So they wanted to teach it from an
Wow.
African focus instead of our
Hmm.
history here. I said,
Right.
"Oh," but it just shows they are really scared of accountability. They don't want
Yeah, they
us.
are.
It's sad.
And they want to erase history and rewrite it, um, you know, all to keep um, white fragility comfortable. We want to coddle white feelings, um, and and make sure that we don't progress any further because if we don't know the truth, there's this saying that only black people say, we got to let go of the past, we got to forget the past, and we want to move forward. That's that's not true.
No,
We have to know the past
no.
because if we don't know what happened in the past, we're in danger of it happening again.
I We're very uncomfortable whenever I bring up anything about racism or history.
Hmm.
I will walk out the room or be like, "Oh God, I don't want to hear this," and I'm like, and I understand to some people it's hard to talk about. I get it. Or I hear
Right.
mother, I have white friends that don't think like that, that aren't like that, and I said, I'm not saying anything bad about your white friends. I'm just saying
Hmm.
that these you got to know, but some people just are too sensitive to hear it or don't. They just don't want to confront it for whatever reason, and
Right. But
it's ridiculous. But
we owe it to ourselves and to upcoming and future generations of black people to teach the truth because they need to know what happened. They need to know so they can protect themselves because they need to know what these people are capable of.
right,
Because if they don't know, as I said earlier, if they don't know, that puts us in danger of it happening again.
excuse me.
If we don't know what they're capable of, if we don't know that they're capable of doing things like, enslaving people and raping and pillaging and stuff like that, then that puts us blind to the fact that it could happen again. So we need to teach this so that we can be aware of
Amen.
that fact to protect ourselves against that. And if the schools are not going to teach it, then we have to teach it, which we should be teaching that to our children anyway. And as I mentioned yesterday when we were talking on the phone, Malcolm X always said, only a fool allows his children to be educated by his enemy, allows
Mm,
his enemy to educate his children.
mm.
And
Ain't ready for that.
today, say that again,
Ain't ready to hear that stuff.
but what you see today are the results of that. Generation of our people being educated by their rules,
Right.
um, and so forth. And that's why we're at each other's throats now. And we will stick up for them before we stick up for our own. We will
That
forgive them for whatever they do, but we will hold grudges against our own people. We forgive white folks for everything, but we
yes,
hold grudges against our own people and for petty stuff at that. You know,
contradiction
um,
right here. Um, Trevor said, "This reminds me when I was in the 10th grade. My teacher was teaching U.S. history, and he said slavery was in the bad thing. And I said, for who, the slave or the master? And he got, he said slavery wasn't bad.
it
For who,
wasn't.
the slave or the master? And he got put out of class. That's the shit I'm
Uh,
talking about. That's not
yeah.
surprising. I remember I got suspended for 3 days for not standing for the pledge for the flag, um, in AP English. I have
Wow.
in the
Hmm.
last forgiving. You said we forgive. I will not. My everyone knows my favorite artist Kanye West. We don't have to talk about it right now, but he made a comment: slavery is a choice, and everyone took it out of context. But everyone remembers. You remember the Dallas that cop who
Hmm.
shot the guy when he walked in his house, right? What
Right.
was you know what I'm talking about? And of course he went to court, and she got 10 years. Well, after she got sentenced, the black judge, who mind you was endorsed by the Dallas Fraternal Order of Police, not only
Mhm.
don't even just not just that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my thought together. But remember, the victim's brother got up crying, told him, "I forgive you, I forgive you."
Hmm. I remember that.
That's why Kanye says slavery is a choice. But I'm just like, this is what I'm talking about. Why? First of all, the bitch just got 10 years, just 10.
Hmm.
She,
Hmm.
she should have gave her life or hung the bitch. But of course, because she's in a system that looked out for her, and the family said they don't want blood, they just want justice. That's not justice. And why would you forgive them? Oh, yep. And
Well,
notorious
well,
said family of the new age house slave. Exactly.
well.
Catering.
That trial was a travesty. It wasn't not just the brother hugging her. That bitch who murdered his brother. He hugged her But on top of that, then you had the black female bailiff who was like, what the fuck was she doing? Playing in her hair, stroking her hair like she was, um, I don't know if you remember that or not, but there was, in the courtroom where the black female bailiff was like playing in the white woman's hair, we're playing in Amber Geiger's hair. I don't know what that was about. And then, um, the judge, the black judge, hugged her and gave her a Bible. Crazy shit like that.
Yeah, that was,
Um,
like I said, that judge was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police of Dallas chapter.
mhm. Oh wow, okay.
They said trying to make
Ah,
nice. She got endorsed. And then get this. Then when Trump had an open seat for the Supreme Court nominee after that racist Ginsburg that everyone was so sad about, said the woman just advocated for women's rights. But if you look at Ginsburg's record, she never was for black people. But we won't go there right now.
right.
They were lobbying Trump to appoint her. Hmm.
Hmm.
That's a lot.
Well,
But
see, well, normally when a black person is supported by a lot of Caucasians, you have to look at them sideways.
mm-hmm.
Because white people normally only cape for black people that, you know,
Fetch.
on their side, and that's going to,
That's
huh?
the term step and fetch came from. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. They're not going to cape for a black person who's really trying to empower black people.
Yep.
They're only going to cape for black people who are going to keep this racist system intact
Yep.
and help uplift this system,
Why do you think they
uphold
love
this
Sheriff
system.
Hart in Milwaukee? I'm
Hmm.
so he was on sitting there talking about the Bucks won. I did not want them to win just because of him. But you know who that is, right? When he
Yeah.
went to yeah, he's that Law and Order black cop talking about, oh yeah, I don't care what color you are, I'm locking you up. We're past slavery now. Oh yeah, and then he said at the 2016 Republican National Convention, and the first words out of his mouth was "Blue Lives Matter." And I said, all these people are probably looking at you like you are Rastus right now. And he had all these medals
Mhm.
and stuff on him wearing this police uniform, and I'm just like, dude, sit your Uncle Tom, step and fetch
Hmm.
ass down. You look ridiculous. I just wanted someone to throw something at him. It's you know,
Well, yeah. Well, white folks love people like that.
yeah,
And
because they get
look, I've
it,
had,
okay, he's not like that, so it's okay that we feel this way. I have a black
yeah.
friend. That's why.
Well, one of my friends from the theater community, or somebody I thought was a friend, he attacked me, um, because when this abundance of Caucasians just jumped out of nowhere all of a sudden when George Floyd was murdered, and they came out with their Black Lives Matter signs, and all of a sudden you had
They
this abundance of Caucasians acting like or pretending like they cared about black people all of a sudden.
yeah, they just want
Okay.
media.
Well, I didn't fall for that shit. But
They,
anyway, say that again.
they just wanted to post on social media or act like they're with the
Uh,
cause.
yeah.
So,
So this guy that I know from the theater community, he made a post saying that, my white friends are losing their family members. My white friends are losing their family members because they standing up for us. So think about that. That's what he said in the post. My white friends are losing their family members, so think about that. And basically was I said I'm sorry, but I really don't care if they're losing their racist family members.
mm-hmm,
Because if you're saying that they're losing their family members because they're standing up for black people, then that means that their family members are racist, right?
mm-hmm,
If their family members are turning away from them for standing up for black people, that means that their family members don't like black people. So why should I give a damn about them losing their racist family members? Why should
right,
I care about them whining and crying over losing their family members? Because black people who stand up for white people are not going to be crying over losing their black family members for standing up for white folks. Because often we will turn on our own people for them anyway,
right,
which I get tired of that shit, you know. And like for instance, it's funny how some people will accuse me of being small-minded because I'm black first, but yet I'm one of the people who is able to have friendships with other brothers and sisters who don't agree with me on everything. But these same people, if you dare to have a mind of your own, they want to ostracize you or call you crazy or say something's wrong with you or whatever. It's just like this whole thing where somebody made a post one time. It was in one of those groups. I think it was in that Speak Out group, or it might have been in Coldwood, but I think it was the Speak Out group. You're probably familiar with that group. You've seen it, right? Speak Out.
If you have nothing nice to say about people, keep it to yourself. That's what
Okay,
I'm.
okay.
Mhm.
Well, there was a post in one of these groups. I think it was that one where it said, would you ever date an atheist, right?
It probably was
And
I because I posted that too, and I everyone knows my answer. You are going you are going to be in a Christian family in my house, but
okay,
that's
okay. Now, what I said was that, um, you know, I believe in a higher power and all that too. But what I said was that I would date somebody who may possibly call themselves an atheist because I look at the big picture. Now,
mhm.
just because a brother or sister may call themselves an atheist does not mean automatically that they're an evil person.
Mm.
Because no,
I'm listening.
honestly, honestly, I've met a couple of brothers who said that they were atheists, but they were actually very loving, caring, giving people. Um, Whereas a lot of these people that sit up in church every Sunday, a lot of these people that sit up in church every Sunday are just as evil and nasty.
That's true.
Um, you know, so just because someone says that they are atheist doesn't mean that they're an evil person automatically. And just because someone who says that they believe in God and sit in church every Sunday doesn't mean that they're a good person either. Because there's a lot
Exactly.
of evil people sitting up in church every Sunday.
Exactly.
So some of the meanest people are in
I
church every Sunday.
oh I know. I get that. I mean, hell, look at slavery days. What was the main thing that they justify slavery with? Exactly.
Right,
Again,
right, right.
and
Yeah.
even Harriet, it opened with a scene of them all standing out there with them making the black preacher say, "Slave, obey your earthly master." That was
Hmm.
that's what they used to justify it. So I get it. I won't comment on the atheist thing. I get what you're saying. I
Hmm.
don't judge them. I just respect what they feel, but I will not associate with the atheists. That's just my
Hmm.
feelings. But I I respect that we thankfully in this country we have freedom of religion for the most part.
Hmm.
If that's what they choose, that's what they choose. But
Right.
I get what you're saying. And it's just mhm. Hold on, you must be obey your master taught in slavery, right? Yes, they always use Timothy 2:9, and I forgot the other one, but they always it said slave over obey your earthly master, not just when his eye is on you, but in the presence of the not but because it's in the presence of
Did
the Lord. Something like that, right?
yeah, did yeah, did you ever watch the movie about Nat Turner?
Yeah, yo, the birth of a nation, yes.
Yeah. Well, my one of my favorite parts of that movie was
Yeah.
when Nat Turner was going back and forth um with that white guy and he was using scriptures, you know, that
And
said
then
we should fight
they
back.
said, beware false prophets in sheep clothing, and he hit him in the
Hmm.
face. You talking about the Santa Claus looking dude, right?
Yeah.
That that scene had me on the ground because the way he went in on him, yeah.
Hmm.
But because he baptized the white man, sorry.
Right. And he was quoting scriptures. Nat Turner was quoting scriptures that said that we should fight back,
Yep,
you know?
yep.
Um, but
That,
people don't want to talk about those scriptures. They only want to talk about,
nope.
holding hands and skipping down the street together, no matter how many times somebody beats you down. You know, like when that crazy white boy went in that church and murdered those people in Charleston, South Carolina.
Dylan.
After Dylan Roof, I know his name. I didn't want to say it, but I knew his name. The fact that, first of all, some people were under the impression that he just went in there and started shooting. That's not what he did. He
No,
went
he
in there and he sat in the Bible study with them for a whole hour, and they were nothing but kind to him, nothing but kind and loving to him.
black
So he
Bible.
sat in the, huh?
He was in a black Bible study before he did that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I,
it was a they had Bible study that night when he came there. They welcomed him into the church to sit with them during Bible study. He sat in there with them for like a whole hour, knowing the whole time that he was plotting to kill them. Um, and I saw somewhere where he said something about they were so nice to him, he almost changed his mind or some bullshit. I don't know, whatever.
But he was a
Um,
very act of God, right? Uh-huh.
yeah, so and then he was treated to Burger King afterwards. You know, he got a little reward for killing some black people. Um, that's what the police did. They took him to Burger King, you know,
Because
um,
hungry.
for a little treat. What you say?
Because he was hungry.
Whatever.
I'm shocked.
And with you
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and even with those family members of the people who were murdered in that church, you know, their family members weren't even cold to the ground yet, but they were standing there looking at Dylan Roof, crying and saying, we forgive you," the same thing you said
Right.
about,
Oh, we
you
always
know,
forgive them.
yeah, because we're pushed to forgive them, but yet when it comes to our own people,
Hell
we'll
no.
hold grudges against our own people,
Look at
but we
cancel.
forgive them for everything.
Look at cancel
Cancel
culture.
culture,
I,
yeah.
I was on Twitter. I'm excited for Kanye's album. He's my favorite artist, and I was getting killed. How can you support him?
Hmm.
And I said, y'all are something else. This man has
Right.
came back and said that he was, he. And the thing is, I'm not going to talk about him right now because I've said enough. But I'm just like, you guys are mad at him, and you guys loved him for so many years, and
Hmm.
he said one thing or two things that you didn't like, and because he didn't go with the way you think, or because said something that you don't understand, you
Hmm.
do it to everyone. And I'm like, but you have these white artists like Taylor Swift, and who who literally called him and his fans monkeys,
Hmm.
who is racist, grew up in folklore, Pennsylvania, writes music about growing up in the South and stuff. And you guys stand her. It's sickening. Or they turn a
Yeah,
blind eye. Yeah.
Justin Bieber, there was a old tape of him saying the word nigger one time, and people forget, black folks forgave him.
Yeah.
Also, black people are always, repping for Eminem's ass.
Oh,
Eminem, Eminem
man.
has made records. He's made both homophobic records and racist records
And
before.
records. Marshall Matters.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
he's made songs with racist lyrics as well as homophobic
and
lyrics.
when it's
But
probably piss people off. I don't care. When Joe Biden has made several gas, and they
mhm,
to defend him when he made a comment saying black people weren't smart enough to use the internet,
uh,
and they went out their way to say, well, no, this is what he meant. It's always this is what he meant. This is what Kamala meant.
right,
Let Trump have said
right.
that. If Trump had said that, they would have burnt the White House down. They literally, they were like, oh, what he meant is we don't have the same access, which is not true. Yes, there are some
Hmm.
areas, but in most underprivileged areas, they give those kids laptops. They give them that. That the
Right.
reality is, your government, Joe Biden and Donald Trump,
Hmm.
did not give sites and enough money to hospitals to have the vaccine. It's not that we don't have access to the internet to find them, but they were quick to defend him. But God forbid Trump or Tim Scott. Remember when Tim Scott said, "Oh, this isn't a racist country," but then Camilla the next day said it too, and her saying was worse than his, right?
Right.
And it was, oh well, what it's always
They
when
made
it's
excuses for her. Right.
they, this is what they meant. But when someone you don't like, they are quick to throw them away.
Hmm. Right. And I like when Joe Biden made that statement
Or you,
that
if
you're not black if you don't vote for him. I was very offended by that. I was
me,
highly offended by that bullshit as a black man for his
yeah,
old wrinkled up white ass to say some shit like that. And black folks were defending that shit for him to
they
say something like that.
they always do, and they said they defend it because they don't want us to stay home and not vote. And I'm like, but you guys are eager to vote for this man, who's not going to be much different as we're seeing. Wait until, and I don't want to make this about politics, but wait until the eviction moratorium and unemployment runs out in the next couple months, and we're going to really see who the real Joe Biden is. We're already starting to see it.
Hmm.
So I told everybody, don't get comfortable. We're about to see who he's
Right.
about to show. So because now, but anyways, neither
Hmm.
here. So you, but yeah, it's impeccable. your film and everything that you're doing, Carl Taze, is amazing.
Thank
Um,
you.
that's when I first ran into you. I never said nothing to you the first. I think we were friends for about a year, and I just sat back and I just watched what you said, and I said, this man is really with the ish. And I think where we really, really connected mentally was, I think it was not. I think it was after Trayvon, when I think you posted or mentioned that was more than just the big ones. I think you made mention. I think
Hmm.
every time I talked about something like that, you always brought up more deeper meanings. And I
Hmm.
said, "Who really gets it?" Because it's not always about you. You thought outside the box, but in a way that's productive. You weren't trying to sound
Yeah.
woke. And I'm just glad that you have projects and stuff out there that's doing the right way of bringing people together, not the mainstream way of let's all hold hands, just to show put
Hmm.
on a show, like
Right.
gangs.
Well, see, I'm not for that kumbaya bullshit.
Me neither.
Um, it's like another thing Malcolm X said. Well, you probably seen me say on more than one occasion. I refer to Malcolm X as my honorary granddad. Right. Have you seen me say that before on Facebook?
You got me dying. You said that, but I get it.
Why have you died when I say
No,
that?
that way I would believe it if it was actually true.
Well, look, I think a lot like he did. First of all, he's accused or he's labeled as being violent or that he was violent, but he was never violent.
No,
Malcolm
no,
X was never violent. He
it's
never
swing.
preached violence. He only talked about self-defense.
Yep.
That's all. He
Please,
talked about us protecting
man,
ourselves.
hands on you, put him in the grave. That's
Right.
what did he say? If a man puts your hands on you, he didn't
Yeah.
say put the man in the grave because he's your oppressor. He said puts his hands
Right.
on you. He
Right.
taught
So
defense, but they don't like that. They don't.
right,
That's why
because we're not supposed to defend ourselves. We're
it
just
pisses
supposed to sit there and take beatings.
Martin Luther King
Right.
was an amazing man, but I get upset that they do not give Malcolm X the same notoriety simply
Hmm.
because they didn't like his ways. And let's be real too. Martin Luther King was educated. He worked with the white folks. He worked with Lyndon Johnson. So they see him as safe. They see him as someone we could deal with.
Well,
You know,
see, they only show that part of Martin Luther King
until the end.
that
After
that they
Birmingham,
don't want to show that Martin Luther King that started to become more radical, so-called radical, or the one that was fed up with their bullshit. They don't want to talk about the Martin Luther King who said, "I feared I've integrated my people into a burning house or burning
mm-hmm,
home." They don't want to talk about the Martin Luther King who was fighting for reparations when he got killed,
mm-hmm.
when he was
Well,
murdered. He was fighting for reparations.
it
The
letter
Martin
from
Luther King.
if you
Hmm.
read you notice they always just show excerpts of it. But if you read the ending of it, he was calling for
Hmm.
us to that when he gets out, he's going to reorganize and restructure how things are done about our
Hmm.
liberation. Those were his words. You know what that meant.
Right.
I'm tired of y'all throwing me in
Yeah.
jail. So,
Oh,
but
yeah.
what?
He was fed up with that shit. And in his last speech, the day before he was murdered, he basically was saying, that he was telling black people to take their money out of white banks and put their money into the black owned banks and stuff
Yep.
like that. So he was fed up, but they don't want to ever show that Martin Luther King. That there's been 1,000 films, there's been so many films done about Martin Luther King, but none of those films ever show that Martin. They only show the Martin that keeps this racist society intact, the one
Right.
that makes this racist society feel safe. They don't
Right.
want to ever show the Martin that got fed up with this bullshit, right? What were you going to say?
No, I'm listening. I just said right. Sorry. You,
Yeah. And so even with these black folks that uplift Martin Luther King, they only lift up the Martin Luther King that keeps white fragility intact. They won't like like the same black people who celebrate Martin Luther King for that little excerpt from I Have a Dream speech, which by the way is like an 18-minute speech. But you wouldn't know that because they only focus on a few little lines in there
yeah, the one about where black boys and white boys hold hands and
with little white
that's the
girls
part of the
and
speech I
all that.
disagree with the most. But we won't go there right
Right.
now. But yeah,
But they purposely hammer that into our minds so that we will believe that's what Martin Luther King was all about. That he only just wanted us to join hands with white folks and that's it. But that's not what he was all about. especially not towards the end of his life. The reason why they killed him because he was waking up, quote unquote, waking up.
Right.
That's why they did away with him, and you never get to see that side of Martin portrayed in all these films that have been done about him. Um, of course, if I ever have the money to produce a film about Martin, um, it will show that side of Martin Luther King
Amen.
who uh, was fed up with the bullshit, you know, and the same Martin Luther King who did a speech that somebody introduced to me, a speech that he did at a junior high school,
Mm.
um, called "What is the Blueprint?" I think it's called "What is the Blueprint for Your Life?"
Right.
Where he's talking to a group of black junior high school students, and he's telling them, you know, basically to be proud of who they are, be proud of their heritage, and be proud of their hair and their skin, and don't ever let anybody make you feel bad about who you are and the greatness that we come from. They don't ever want to quote that Martin Luther King, the one who say, "Be proud of your blackness." They don't want
Right.
to quote that one at all. And people have these like people just like people have selective outrage, they have selective
Oh, don't get me started on that.
um
That's a topic for another day.
oh yeah, selective outrage
Oh
and
man.
nitpicking who they want to celebrate or when they want to celebrate, because like I said, what we just said about Martin Luther King, they only celebrate certain parts of Martin Luther King, the parts that keep this society intact.
Yeah.
um but they won't celebrate the Martin Luther King who was standing up against it. So
I
it's
get it.
crazy, but I think we covered everything, didn't we? Pretty
Hmm.
much. Yeah, definitely. This has been a good one,
Those
and
who are unable to see Instagram, you saw when I posted it. I did get a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I'm working, whatever." Just upload it on
hmm
Facebook. Yeah, I'm gonna share it on my page and
yeah,
group
I'm going to upload it on Facebook. I'm also going to upload
and
it
YouTube.
on YouTube, which I will also share on Facebook. And we need people to definitely go to the YouTube channel and subscribe and um, push those views up so we can start really taking this to another level. With one day,
Keep
maybe we'll have a interview in person and have some theme music and all that other kind of stuff going
Let's do
on.
it.
But oh
Yeah,
yeah, most definitely. So I hope to have my film ready in the fall by the fall. One of my friends is actually the founder, which we talked about him before. Um, Kenneth Moore, who is the founder of the Baltimore International Black Film Festival. Um, he's actually seen the script that I wrote for this project that I just shot. So he knows what the film is about. He believes in what I'm doing. He's already trying to see if I'm going to have it ready in time for his festival, which his festival is like the beginning part of October. I don't know if
right.
I'm going to have it ready in time for that, but if I am, hopefully it will. If I have it ready in time for that festival, it will debut in
Okay.
his festival in October. Um, but I'm going to try to have it done by then. If not, because I don't want to just throw it together. I want it to be right. I have to make sure all the scenes flow together
Let us
right.
know.
Um,
Let me know how we could push it in any way, shape, or form because we need more people like you. Um, and you are
Thank you,
talented, you are creative, and you're very pragmatic. And you need to
thank
pat yourself on the back for your hard work. And I also
you.
we'll talk offline
Thank
about this, but I will also see you on Saturday.
Okay.
Now that I said
All
I'm
right.
coming out to it, you're coming too.
Oh, so I have no choice now, huh?
There you
All
go.
right,
So
I'll
you
be there.
contact your connect and let them know it is okay. You are coming out.
Okay. I'll see you Saturday.
All right. Well,
All
keep
right.
winning, man.
All right. All right. You too, Jeff.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right. Thank you. Bye, people. Yeah.
And
Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back soon with another episode within the next couple of weeks or so. And I will be sharing this to Facebook and YouTube so that those of you who did not have a chance to tune in will see it later. Thank you all for being here. And I love you. Bye now.